A couple of years ago, we recorded some tutorials on how to make money with your footage by preparing them for stock sales and sending them to media stock sites such as Pond5. However, in the last couple of years, I've changed my approach of how I do this, and things have changed at Pond5. So I thought it'd be time to update these tutorials and show you how I'm going about this task now. And so if you are interested in making a little extra money with the footage that you shoot day to day, you might find these tutorials interesting on how I do that with Edius and with Pond5. And in this series, we're going to add another method of how you might be able to make some money. I'll show you what I'm doing, started doing just recently. All right, well, let's get started. If you are brand new to Edius, if you're just trying out the 30-day free trial, you might want to go take a look at some of the other tutorials to help get you up to speed, because some of the things that we cover in this series are going to assume that you know how to work with Edius windows and importing and that type of thing. Okay, let's fire up the program. I'm right now actually working on preparing some stock footage to send up to Pond5 and a couple of other places. And so I thought this would be a good day to record these renewed tutorials and show you how I'm going about this now. Basically, what I do in this first stage of preparing my clips for stock is I follow the same type of system that I have outlined in another series of tutorials we have here called Archiving Your Footage. And so if you've already seen that series, you might not even need to watch this one. If you want a more detailed explanation of why I do the things that I do, you might want to take a look at those tutorials, because we're going to cover some of these same points quite quickly in this series. Basically, what I do when I get back from a shoot and I want to go through my material and find the clips that I think have stock media value is I will open them up in a project that matches the settings of my camera when I shot the footage. This is the first stage, regardless of whether I shot in PAL or NTSC, what frame rate, progressive or interlace. What I'll do is open up a project that matches the camera settings. And what we're basically doing in this first step, this first stage, is just going through the shots and looking for usable, marketable footage. Something that I look for when I'm choosing my shots is to have somewhere between 10 and 15 seconds of good, steady shot that is interesting, that might be marketable, that has good focus, not being bumped around, good white balance. And then basically I'm just marking my in and out points, looking for that 10 to 15 seconds that I think might sell. And when I've got what I need, hit F11. This brings up the exporter dialog box. Make sure that your box down here that says export between in and out is checked. And for this first step, I usually just use Grass Valley HQ. Now, if you're working in a 10-bit environment and you want to upload 10-bit clips, or you know you have clients that want 10-bit clips, you could, at this point, choose the Grass Valley HQX. If you've got a lot of hard drive space and you want to, you could go ahead and use the Grass Valley Lossless. But for most clips, especially if I look at them and I see, oh, that's not going to require a lot of color correction or require a big change in frame rate, then I'll just be fine with the Grass Valley HQ. Okay, and then we hit export, and you can see I've already started this series. You want to start a folder. If you're going to be doing this a lot, you'll probably want to organize a database or a media library. I've done it in a system called a set of folders called WVV for World View Videos, which is a website that I have. And then I'm numbering them sequentially in folders of 100. Right now we're in the 5500. And what I find easiest is just to hit the last clip, and this brings up that file name in the file name field here, and then I can just click in here and change it to the next increment. I find that easier than typing out. I'm not a fast typist, and so I find it easier to make shortcuts like that. And then we've created an AVI file, one that matches the settings of the camera that I used to shoot this footage. And you'll see the shot comes down to the bottom of the bin there. And so to grab the next shot, I just go up. And to make this a little easier, I divide up my folders into ones that I've evaluated already, ones that I still need to look at, and then I keep a separate folder for the sequence itself. So I've already taken a look at these. I could drop these now into evaluated, and that makes it just a little easier to work with. So then we just start going through looking for usable shots. These seem to be a little dark. That was not too bad. The girl is nicely exposed and lit. She may be a little bit hot, so we might be able to use that. And what I do is, for this stage, it's not important to keep a record of each clip on a timeline. We won't actually even be coming back to this timeline ever again. And so I just usually drop my next clip right over top of the previous clip. I already have an in and out marked there, and it's easy then just to slide this along to capture the action that I want to capture. Right now she's kind of looking at the camera, so I might pull this in a little bit. I might drag this out a little bit. And then I'll check the duration. We see that it's at the moment 24 seconds long, and generally speaking that's a little long for stock unless there's something very important happening in the scene that needs to finish up. Then you can let it go longer. In most video productions, the average length of a B-roll clip is usually not more than 3 seconds. And so to ask Pond5 or other stock media agencies to host a 30-second long video in hopes that it might sell one day, it's just, generally speaking, asking a little bit too much. And so we can look for ways to shorten this video. Pretty much this action is very similar, so we could pull this down, and we see now that our duration changes, and we're looking more like around 16 seconds now. 15 seconds is pretty decent length. That gives video editors a little handle on each edge of the shot. If it's a slow push in, I usually like to leave a little handle at the beginning before the camera starts to push in, and then make sure that the push finishes and still have a little handle on the other side. Okay. At this stage, we're not worrying about any color correction or making any adjustments using filters of any kind, changing any frame rates or going from PAL to NTSC. We don't want to do that at this stage of the game. We will do that before we're done at the next step, but at this point all we really want to do is find nice stable in and outs and make our first AVI file. The reason is because most cameras today use a very highly compressed file format. In order for cameras to get a lot of video onto one small card, they have to compress the video into these very highly compressed formats. And they look great for the presentation, but if the image is going to take a lot of hits, several generations of hits where changes might be made at each generation, you don't want to do that with the highly compressed file that comes off the camera. You want to first of all make a robust AVI file, and then you can start making changes. It's the same principle with still photography. If you know that your image is going to take several editing hits, several generations, you want to be able to start with a raw file first of all, and then maybe make TIFF files. And then you can make many changes to the TIFF files, open and close them, make a change, open and close them, and you're not going to degrade the quality of the overall image. If you did that with JPEG, every time you opened it and made a change and saved it, that saved file is degraded again. And you open up that one, and you get several generations of degradation, you end up with a really bad image. And it's the same principle here. You don't want to be making changes to your camera files. If you know that you're going out to stock, you want to make an AVI file first, and then make your color corrections and make a second AVI file of that. And that's what gets sent up to the broadcast centers and media houses. And then they've got a nice, fairly decent file to work with that they can then make several changes themselves, several generations of changes if you encode to a highly robust file format. You know, they can bring it into After Effects, work with it, and just do a lot of hits to it and still be fine. So that's my pitch on why I, first of all, in this first stage, just simply go in and make AVI files from my camera footage. Okay, so we'll hit F11 again. Edius in this file exporter remembers the last preset that you used, the last exporting preset. It remembers your export between in and out. All you need to do is hit the export button, or actually just the enter key. And then I just, again, click the last one, change the file name, and hit save. And so I believe that does it for this first tutorial on how to prepare your clips for distribution and stock sales. And in our next tutorial, we'll show you how we take these AVI files that we have created that match the camera settings and bring them into a new project for processing, doing the color correcting and setting it up for export. For now, that does it for our first tutorial on making money with your footage.